If you know the words, sing along, okay? Happy birthday to you. What's going on, folks? It's D. White, founder of JustBlackThoughts.com, and I'm just one black male educator giving you my thoughts. I've been back in the States for about a month and some change. If you didn't know, recently I took a trip to Ghana on behalf of the Fulbright Teacher Exchange Program. I was given 2 weeks to go and observe and to immerse myself in Ghanaian classrooms and this culture in general. Here are a few of my reflections since I've been back home in the States, specifically back in Oakland. In Ghana, there's a lot of call and response I notice in the classrooms. Not too much different than my own class, but I think I've just been more mindful of student talk and student voices. A little bit, just a shift in mindset, right? Of course, I don't believe in lecturing. I'm an English teacher, by the way. I teach sophomores and seniors. I don't believe in lecturing. I believe a teacher can overteach. I believe we can be on stage for too long and kids will start to disengage. And also, I think we can give out too much information and then it just defeats the purpose of kids having their own self-discovery or this developing this muscle to go get and go seek the information for yourself and digest it for yourself. So I'm not really into spoon feeding a child information. Terrible visual, I know. Yeah. More call and response in my class, just to know that we're here, right? It feels like, or it's akin to like Black church for me, right? And ironically, I work at a Catholic school. I didn't grow up Catholic, but just hearing students have that call back and that response to you, just let them know we're here and we're actually engaging in this energy exchange. One of the things I've been really sensitive to is just my energy in the room, right? I try to greet all my students before they come in. And no, I'm not one of those teachers that does the cool handshakes and the high fives. No, I just like to see their face and say good morning, as well as give them different seats as they come in and just get a temperature check at the door. Like, how you feeling? Are you tired? So I realized that we're both contributing energy in the room. And I know that sometimes I'm going to have to bring more to raise the energy, or sometimes I'm going to have to rely on the students. And in order to get students cooking in that energy, you got to get them up and moving. And I mean that literally, as well as getting their mind moving, right? When you're up there lecturing, it kind of constrains or just it disrupts the energy, the circulation of energy, right? And I know that sounds oddly spiritual, abstract, but I do believe in just bringing this positive enthusiasm or just letting kids know that, hey, let's have a good time in class, right? I've had some classes that have been really electric, right? We are on point. It is, you can just feel it, right? Then there's been classes where it's been pretty dull. And of course, not every day is going to be this big ball of energy for me because we get tired. And I think one of the things I also learned in Africa was just this level of transparency and just telling kids, obviously, what's happening for the day, where we are, and why we're doing it, so they can understand how to conserve or release their energy according to what's happening for the day. For example, my students have done a lot of writing in the last 2 or 3 weeks. So of course, we need a day or we need a week of just not rest, but days of recovery, days where we can just kind of sit back and we can go into some other procedural or declarative knowledge or instruction. Every day doesn't have to be 100 miles per hour. Every day doesn't be a hard workout. Some days you just need the kids to kind of rest, reflect in order to improve their process and as well as to internalize some of these processes and being metacognitive. For example, one of the other major things I'm always trying to stress in class is self-reflection. And I mean that in terms of goal setting and having my kids set goals, having my students talk about their vows and values and what they vow to do this year in order to become a better person, better athlete, better student. I also have them write self-evaluations so they can look back at the work they've turned in, right? I say that because I think that introspection, self-reflection muscle really is encouraged by this culture of transparency I'm trying to inspire my classroom. So trying to be honest about, hey, how do you think you did on this piece of writing? How do you think you're showing up in class? right? So it doesn't feel like it's a one-directional conversation or me critiquing and being overly about it, but I want them to be a part of that process and them defining their own kind of standards of success and knowing what's their metrics and their rubrics for how they're constructing whether they're successful or not successful or effective or ineffective. And I think that's done by just keeping a level of transparency and honesty. And honesty in terms of what we're doing in class again, why we're doing it, and also honesty and transparency around what's the energy in the room. How are you feeling? You know, how is class going for you? What's working, what's not working, and giving kids the platform, the space, the words in order to provide that feedback to me. I think one of the main things that I think young people are kind of uneasy about is giving feedback to the teachers, as well as I think teachers are uneasy about asking for that feedback. And again, in this culture of transparency in my classroom, I want that dialogue to keep going. I believe that silence leads to violence. And I don't mean that just physically. I mean, for kids, it's emotional, it's symbolic, it's a lot of these different things that may bring harm or prevent or preclude a student from further growing because they're worried about perception and they end up shutting down and shrinking their voices. And that's the complete opposite thing I want in the English class. I want the kids to be confident. I want the kids to be vocal. I want them to be themselves and express themselves as they see fit in order to help them improve, whether that's self-improvement or just building the community in class. Other things that's really been on my mind since I've been back, really optimizing laughter and just good energy. Again, I keep coming back to that, right? As simple as something as a smile at the door or just laughter during the classroom, I think just raises the energy and increases the sense of security and safety in the room. Now, is every day a joke day? Is every day laughing? No, but I try to make time and space for us just to engage as people, not just as teacher student or not just all intellectual work, but more so those social skills. You got to remember, a lot of our young people live online. A lot of our adults live online. Like, look at me right now. I'm making this video. So I want to make sure kids are given the opportunity, the tools in order to engage each other in person as live people, as people who have real lives outside of just their student persona. And how am I doing that? You know, one of the highlights the last couple of weeks, I taught my students Stevie Wonder, the Stevie Wonder version of Happy Birthday. I know that's like, well, what does that have to do with English? Again, if we're going to have these really difficult conversations in class and intellectual high level, we got to know each other as just like a base level, right? I think of it in terms of like Maslow's hierarchy. For us to go high intellectually, you need to fulfill these base level needs of just connection and community. And so with that, you know, we get up, we dance. The other day we did salsa as a segment in class to learn about verbs. I had a young lady do the electric slide and she had never heard of it. I told her to go home and learn the electric slide. It's just all these little small things that are important to community building and it's important to cultural exchanges, right? I learned something new from the kids and I want to also impart to that cultural base that we're building in class. When I say cultural base, I don't just, again, mean the books. I mean, where are you coming from in the world, right? A lot of my students are Irish. A lot of my students are Italian. I have Ethiopian students, Eritrean students, and I want to make space for them to bring their full selves in order to teach each other about their cultures, right? I'm not the holder of all book knowledge or cultural knowledge, right? I want to be a participant in the space. If anything, I want to facilitate those connections and exchanges. Last thing I say, because this video is going long, what I really, really enjoyed in Africa, that's not to say I don't have it here in the States. I really enjoyed that sense of just that, I don't know, that practice of singing. There's something about, it makes me think of lift every voice and sing. There's something about this choir, this shared voice energy that I would hear in a lot of these classes. But one of the things I really enjoy was hearing this collective voice in those classes in Ghana. And that's something I want to really promote in my class. And when I say a collective voice, I don't mean that in terms of choir and singing. Literally, I just mean we are collective, we are in a congregation, we are fellowshipping, and we're using our voice, whether that's written, whether that's verbal, whether that's our bodies, just to talk, right? Just to keep engaging each other And I think that's so priceless because, again, I know a classroom could be a space of, high hostility. A class could be a space where kids shrink their bodies, they shrink their voices, and I want to do the complete opposite, right? I think for us to move those heavy intellectual mountains, we've got to do a lot within ourselves internally, and then between interpersonally with each other in terms of just growing and understanding our community and understanding how our community engages each other and what prior knowledge we bring to a space. So all that to say is I've been really grateful to be back home. I'm really excited about my classes this year, and I appreciate that my young people are reciprocating that same good energy with me, and I think that's what makes a really, really dope class. Peace, take care, Paula. Hey, it's Steve White, founder of JustBlackThoughts.com. If you haven't done so, hit subscribe on YouTube. Follow me at The Other English Teacher on Instagram and YouTube. Peace.